In American history, there are brands that go far beyond simply being trademarks. They have become true pillars of American culture. We are talking about names such as Ford, Levi's, and, of course, Brooks Brothers. Imagine a brand that dressed 39 of the 40 for American presidents. Among them were such iconic figures as Abraham Lincoln and John Kennedy, who are wearing Brooks Brothers clothing on the days of their tragic deaths. But it wasn't just politicians who chose this brand. It was worn by such icons of style and culture as Annie Warhol, Grace Kelly, Al Capone, Clark Gable, Johnny Agnelli, Lady Gaga, and countless other stars and celebrities. Not long ago, this legendary brand celebrated its 100th anniversary. But behind this impressive date lies a dramatic story that almost led to its demise. The history of Brooks Brothers dates back to April 1818. At that time, the enterprising Henry Sandy Brooks, known for his foresight, purchased a small store on a street corner in the heart of Manhattan for $15,000. This became the starting point for founding a company specializing in the manufacture and sale of high-quality clothing. Although Henry Brooks was already 45 years old, an age that was considered respectable by the standards of the time, he was a true innovator from the very beginning. One of his first decisions was to hire mainly women for sewing. This was revolutionary because until then, men's clothing had been sewn exclusively by men. He also introduced the concept of ready-to-wear clothing, which was a major breakthrough in the fashion industry. Henry entrusted his male tailors with the most complex items, such as coats and frock coats. The range of clothing offered by Brooks Brothers was quite diverse, from practical pea coats and work shirts to elegant, expensive coats. The main priority was high-quality craftsmanship. At the same time, thanks to a smart approach to choosing affordable fabrics, Brooks Brothers was able to offer customers products at more attractive prices than their competitors. Henry Brooks' business grew rapidly, generating annual revenues of up to $50,000. This allowed him to open a second store in the same bustling area of Manhattan. After Henry Brooks died in 1833, his sons took over the company. The eldest, also named Henry, took the lead, and then his four younger brothers joined the business. It was they who gave the company its now recognizable name, Brooks Brothers. During this period, the brand's emblem featured the iconic figure of a sheep suspended on a ribbon. This symbol had a dual meaning. It referred to the ancient knightly order of the Golden Fleece, and at the same time represented the Guild of British Wool Merchants. Under the leadership of the Brooks Brothers, the company revolutionized the industry. Brooks Brothers became pioneers in the American market by offering ready-made clothing to customers. This breakthrough was largely due to the California gold rush. Gold miners appreciated Brooks Brothers' inexpensive and durable clothing, but they simply did not have the time to wait for custom tailoring. Clothing wore out incredibly quickly in the mines. In response to this demand, the brothers began offering ready-made suits in standard sizes, which proved to be a real success. They managed to reduce the cost of production while maintaining the same prices. The second significant milestone in the history of Brooks Brothers was the American Civil War. The company received lucrative government contracts to manufacture uniforms. As with many army suppliers at the time, this activity was not without controversy. Brooks Brothers not only supplied uniforms to both sides of the conflict, but also used substandard materials in their manufacture. These were mainly remnants of recycled wool, known as shoddy. This fabric quickly turned into useless rags. It is believed that it was after the war that the word shoddy entered the English language, acquiring the meaning of low quality or poor quality. Despite the accompanying scandals, Brooks Brothers managed to win the trust of influential customers. Perhaps the most significant of these was U.S. President Abraham Lincoln. It can be assumed that his choice of Brooks Brothers clothing served as a demonstration of democracy. In essence, it was a signal: look, I wear high quality, but simple and affordable clothes. It was Lincoln who established this tradition by the time of Lincoln's second inauguration. Brooks Brothers had created a special black coat for him. It was decorated with an embroidered eagle and the inscription "One Country, One Destiny." It was in this coat that the president was on April 14, 1865, the day of his tragic assassination. There is a widespread legend that in memory of this sad event, the company avoided making black suits until 2002. However, Brooks Brothers has always loved to experiment with suit design. Back in the 1870s, the brand was the first to use seersucker. This unique cotton fabric with a characteristic crinkled texture, originally from India, was long considered exclusively workwear. However, Brooks Brothers turned it into an integral element of the elegance of Southern gentlemanly style. At the beginning of the 20th century, Brooks Brothers introduced the fashionable American public to another Indian exotic: bright madras check clothing made of cotton and linen. Another landmark innovation from Brooks Brothers was the three-button jacket with unlined shoulders, paired with straight-leg, wide-leg trousers. This look, which became a symbol of American style, is familiar to us all from the famous photographs of gangsters from the era of Al Capone and Lucky Luciano. Brooks Brothers became famous for its Oxford button-down shirt with buttons on the collar, and was also the first to offer pink shirts for men. The brand was inspired by British regimental ties, turning their stripes upside down. Despite its innovations, Brooks Brothers remained true to the classics, attracting customers such as Woodrow Wilson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Scott Fitzgerald. In 1915, the company opened its headquarters on Madison Avenue in 1945. Roosevelt wore a Brooks Brothers suit at the Yalta Conference in 1946. The company ceased to be a family business. The Brooks family sold it for just over $3 million to a corporation that owned a chain of department stores. The new owners bet on aggressive marketing, and it paid off after the war. The preppy style emerged at Ivy League universities: suits, shirts, trousers, loafers. Brooks Brothers became a kind of uniform for the future American elite. John Kennedy became a fan of Brooks Brothers while still at Harvard. The brand largely created the young president's style, and it was precisely this style that helped Kennedy win the election. selection. He looked much better on screen than his opponent, who wore baggy jackets from the 1930s in a cruel twist of fate. Kennedy was also wearing clothes from his favorite brand when he was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas. He was wearing a suit from Brooks Brothers, dark gray wool with 2 buttons. In 1999, a new flagship store opened on 5th Avenue in New York City. Its glass facade and layout, reminiscent of an expensive department store, alienated even the most loyal old customers. In their opinion, Brooks Brothers was no longer different from cheaper competitors such as J.Crew, and was now selling cheap shirts from Malaysia under the guise of historical heritage. Sadly, all these changes did not lead to increased profits. In 2001, Marks and Spencer planned to sell Brooks Brothers to an Italian corporation. By a strange coincidence, the deal was supposed to close on September 12, 2001. However, after the September 11th terrorist attacks, it became clear that the negotiations would have to be postponed. And then the economic crisis hit. As a result, the British had to sell Brooks Brothers for $225 million, 3 times less than they had paid for it. The new owner, Claudio Del Vecchio, son of billionaire Leonardo Del Vecchio, attempted to return the company to its roots. In his own words, he wanted to return to those whom Brooks Brothers dressed 5 days a week, men in suits. Del Vecchio took a risk. He raised prices, improved the quality of materials, and reintroduced the option of custom tailoring. In 2006, Brooks Brothers invited renowned designer Tom Brown to create the premium black fleece clothing line. At the same time, the Italian owners decided to launch Brooks Brothers on the European and Latin American markets. The first European store opened in Milan, and the scandalous Italian businessman Diego Della Valle, owner of the Fiorentina Football Club, was involved in its creation. In 2005, a store opened in London, in 2006 in Paris, and in 2013 in Moscow. By 2015, Brooks Brothers had 110 stores in the U.S. and another 70 in 45 countries on every continent except Africa. The brand opened its first African store in 2018, the second key advantage of Brooks Brothers, apart from its extensive retail network, was its impeccable reputation. Although Presidents Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan were not fans of the brand, subsequent heads of state returned to tradition, like Lincoln. Barack Obama wore a black Brooks Brothers coat to his inauguration in 2017. Donald Trump did the same, although in other cases he preferred clothing from Italian tailors. In addition to presidents, the brand was loved by celebrities such as LeBron James, Lady Gaga, and Justin Timberlake. In movies, Brooks Brothers suits were worn by Ben Affleck, George Clooney, and Alec Baldwin. The pinnacle of Brooks Brothers' cinematic success came in 2013 with the creation of 500 men's suits for the film The Great Gatsby, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. It all looked like a triumph But in reality, it did not solve any of the company's underlying problems. Revenues did not grow, and debts continued to accumulate. Ultimately, Brooks Brothers was forced to close some of its stores in New York, and then its American manufacturing facilities. More affordable competitors were gaining ground, and as a result, in an increasingly competitive environment, the oldest American brand was unable to withstand the subsequent blow, the COVID-19 pandemic. Demand for office wear and for suits fell sharply. In July 2020, Brooks Brothers filed for bankruptcy, and in September of the same year, it was sold to Authentic Brands Group, the largest American brand management company, for $325 million. The new owners made another attempt to revive the legendary brand.